right, just waiting for confirmation that I'm live everywhere. Give me 2 seconds. And there you are. What's going on, everybody? It is July 19th, Friday, the day before UFC San Antonio. We're going to go through our fight predictions and thoughts, comments, etc. We'll also be answering any questions on UFC San Antonio. That's going to be at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm sorry, 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, July 20th. Let's get to it. I don't know about you guys, but I'm really hyped about this card. It's pretty stacked. You have Roxanne Modafferi and Jennifer Maia on the prelim card, which is Roxanne's 5, Jennifer Maia is 6 in the flyweight division. For that to be on a prelim card is really cool. I'm excited about that one. There's some other names on the prelim card as well. Let's take a look at that. If you've seen any of my streams recently, I was talking about how this San Antonio fight night is going to be even more stacked than UFC 240. That, of course, the main event being Max Holloway and Frankie Edgar. So that's a really top-heavy card. You have Max Holloway and Frankie Edgar, the main event, obviously, and then Cyborg against Felicia Spencer in the co-main event. And after that, it really falls off. But you have Alex Caceres in the prelims of this card. Raquel Pennington making her return since her failed title attempt against Amanda Nunes. You got Sam Alvey. Ray Borg is on the prelims. Come on, man. It's going to be a good one. I'm really excited. I'm going to just give the picks for the main card, answer any questions, and then catch you guys tomorrow night at 9 p.m. as soon as the main card starts. Again, if there is enough time, we are going to switch over to Manny Pacquiao versus Thurman. That'll be a fun one. All right, guys. So we have two really old, but really game heavyweights. Andrei Arlovski he keeps going back and forth. He keeps looking like he's done, should retire. Then he knocks out a couple people, and then again looks like he should retire. I think he's back towards looking like he should retire route. Ben Rothwell. Also coming off a loss, but I feel like he still has some more left in the tank. He took a long layoff, if you want to call it that, due to USADA, so he has had enough time to let his body rest. His last fight, I thought he was going to win, but a young guy in Ivanov coming and surprising everybody. But overall, I think Ben Rothwell still has more left in the tank. I think this is going to be a banger. I think they're both going to come out looking for the kill. I think it is eventually going to be on the ground, in which I give Ben Rothwell a huge advantage over Andrei Arlovski. So that is going to be my pick. I'm going to pick Big Ben Rothwell. Second round submission, let's call it that. Let me know your thoughts, if you agree, if you don't, why. Even if you're not catching live, I will 100% bring up any comments, questions, or thoughts during my live broadcast for San Antonio tomorrow. Hey, what's going on, man? Thanks for joining, Trash. And shout out to you for those notes, man. I really appreciate it. That was cool. Secondly, guys, we have Alexander Hernandez versus Francisco Trinaldo. Now, Alex Hernandez got a lot of steam. He knows what to do when the mic is in front of his face, and he's a pretty exciting fighter to watch as well. He bit off more than he could chew in the veteran and really tough out for anybody, and Donald Cerrone. And Donald Cerrone made pretty short work of Alex Hernandez. And that's not a huge, downvote on anyone's career moving forward, having a loss to Donald Cerrone, who's obviously going to be a Hall of Famer, maybe one of, if not the best fighter to not hold a title in the UFC. Who knows? He's still writing his own history, looking really good in game out there. You all saw that Tony Ferguson fight, amazing. Really wish he didn't blow his nose, so we could have saw that round 3, but here we are. Alex Hernandez didn't answer that bell, but I still believe in Alex Hernandez as a prospect. Now, Francisco Trinaldo, it's weird when I looked and saw that Trinaldo is 40 years old. That is bonkers. I remember Trinaldo coming into UFC and everyone thinking that he was, possibly the next big thing, being the young guy, the up-and-comer. But now he's the grizzled vet. Now he's every outing he has to kind of prove himself. I'm going to be really interested to see this one. I think that Trinaldo and Hernandez, even though one might be on their way out of the UFC, the other one might be on his way up in the UFC, being the younger guy in Hernandez, I do think their skill levels are around the same. Here is how I'm going to call this one. To look at it in the simplest terms, you have Alex Hernandez, who's young, up-and-coming, a lot of heart, had a lot to think about and change about how he won after Cerrone. He blamed it mostly on trying too hard to end it on one shot. It's a lesson a lot of young guys have to learn if you listen to them. And if you listen to their coaches, same thing. They would agree with that. And then you have Trinaldo, who is the guy you have to beat for a lot of people to consider you a top 15 fighter. Is Alexander Hernandez in the top 15? Yes. Has he beaten anybody on the level of Francisco Trinaldo? He has not. This only being his 4th fight in the UFC. He hasn't gotten a name big enough or a talented enough to say that he has anyone on his belt that's a higher talent than Francisco Trinaldo. I'm giving this one to Francisco Trinaldo because I think it's too early for Hernandez. I do think Hernandez will be a top 15 fighter. Again, I know he's ranked. I'm talking about talent-wise. I know he will be a top 15, 155. In any other division at his level, he would, 100% be top 15. 155 is a row of killers after killers after killers, so on and so forth, etc. And Trinaldo is that gatekeeper that you have to get through to prove you're top 15. If Hernandez beats Trinaldo, this will be the last time I ever question Hernandez being top 15. Even though, like I said, I'm a fan. I think he is talented. But I have Trinaldo. Trinaldo's not done. Do I think he's going to win the title? No. I think the division has passed him. But I still think he's a good enough gauge for any young guy who's saying that, I'm next, I'm the next big thing, or even the next contender. You have to beat Trinaldo. Trinaldo only loses to the very best. To talk directly on that, let's take a look at Trinaldo's losses in the UFC. His last fight, we saw him fall of last year, knocking out Evan Dunham. I believe that was Dunham's retirement fight. He lost to James Vick. Again, James Vick's top 15, proven. He beat Miller. He lost to Kevin Lee. No one would argue Kevin Lee, top 15 fighter. He beat Felder. He beat Yancy Medeiros. Beat Pearson. He doesn't lose to anybody who isn't, legit. He lost to Michael Chiesa back in 2014. No one would argue when Chiesa was in lightweight division that he wasn't top 15. Again, if you want to be considered a top lightweight in the world and in the UFC, beat Francisco Trinaldo. If Hernandez does that tomorrow, then cool. But I just don't see it happening. I think Hernandez needs another year or two. I think he needs some seasoning, we'll call it. But definitely needs some more experience. Trinaldo is a tough out for anybody at any time. I don't care how old he is. He's going to be the toughest test next to Donald Cerrone that Hernandez ever had. Let's see how he does. It's going to be a good matchup, though. Alexander by KO, first or early second. Whew. We'll see, man. If Alexander Hernandez does that, then I'm arguing for Hernandez to either get a Cowboy rematch or maybe a top 10 guy. Not that Trinaldo's top 10, but if he comes back off that Donald Cerrone loss looking like he did and then knocks out Trinaldo early, very few people knock out Trinaldo, especially early. So we'll see how that goes, man. Yeah, James Vick does need a win. Segueing into our next bout, James Vick versus Dan Hooker. Both guys recently losing to Edson Barboza. Barboza doing work to both of these guys. No, I'm sorry. No, Dan Hooker coming off the loss to Barboza. James Vick coming off the loss to Paul Felder. And Paul Felder, I had James Vick going to win that. Paul Felder looked great, though. It's a really high-action fight. And then before that, James Vick got knocked out by Justin Gaethje. A violent knockout. James Vick did take some time off. Came back. Didn't look bad against Paul Felder. But James Vick is 6'3", cutting down to 155, and he's not a little guy. You see, the only guy his height in the division is Violent Bob Ross, Luis Pena, but Pena is substantially smaller frame, even though he's a big guy, smaller frame than James Vick is. James Vick looks like a welterweight. I don't know why he does it to himself. You guys know how I feel by now on cutting weight. It's scary watching someone that big cut down 155 pounds. Think about it. It's ridiculous. With that being said, I think these guys are really comparable compared to their skill set, compared to their records. Even though James Vick is the veteran compared to Dan Hooker, they both have good wins. They both have some losses. They both have good stand-up and diverse stand-up. They both have good and diverse jiu-jitsu. If this was fought at welterweight, I would give this fight to James Vick. But because it's such a close fight, I'm going to say that Dan Hooker looks to be the fresher fighter without having to put his body through that type of hell that James Vick is going to do. Just like you just said, man, in the chat, James Vick needs this win because James Vick wants to be a champion at 155. I get it. James Vick, I would suggest moving to 170. Don't get me wrong. I tell you guys all the time, I'm a fan. I am nobody to tell James Vick what the fuck to do. And I wouldn't dare to. But he is huge for this division. Dan Hooker, not small, but at least looking like a lightweight frame. I'm going to go with not my heart but my brain on this one and say Dan Hooker via a exciting 3-round decision win. Yes, Darren Till did hint to going to middleweight, but remember he hinted at going to middleweight before that Jorge Masvidal fight as well. So we'll see what Darren Till does next. I want to see him at middleweight. He's humongous, man. Come on, that guy is literally stature for stature, inch for inch, comparable to some light heavyweights. Not all, because there are some mammoth people up at light heavyweight. But he's at least would not be undersized at middleweight. Think about it. They're telling Yoel to move up to 205. Yoel, even though he's a huge dude, he's not tall. I feel like Darren Till looks more of a middleweight than Yoel does a light heavyweight. All right, guys. So, again, Dan Hooker, 3-round decision victory. I told you, we're going to keep it moving, guys. Share your feedback. Even if you are not watching live, I will refer back to this chat and answer any questions, address any comments, any agreements or disagreement with my picks. Share your input, man. That's why we're here. I want to see Ben Askren versus Till just to see that lead up. But again, I don't want to see Darren Till at 170 anymore. Shit's scary. Him versus Stephen Wonderboy Thompson would... I changed my mind. It sounds like an exciting fight, but they already... Till and Stephen Wonderboy Thompson already fought. Till edging out a decision, hurting Stephen Thompson's leg with those teep kicks. And it wasn't an exciting fight at all, surprisingly. All right, guys, we are to what was originally, if I remember correctly, someone correct me if I'm wrong, we have Hardy versus Adams was going to be the co-main event at first, but it has been pushed down, rightfully so. It doesn't deserve to be the co-main event. But Greg Hardy versus Juan Adams. I'm not going to delve too high into this because, to be honest with you, neither of these guys have a big enough body of work for me to go, oh, this guy's strength is that and this guy's is this. They're both big as fuck. They're both fast. They're both athletic. They're both strong as hell. They're both going to bring the power. They're both going to come really aggressive. They both have striking forward styles. Juan Adams having 4 out of 5 of his victories via TKO. You've all seen Greg Hardy fight. He's either TKOing you or he's getting disqualified. That is really what it looks like right now. Not a knock on Greg Hardy as a fighter, just going by what his record is. So it's hard to pick this one. I think they're both going to bring it. I was looking at picks, which you shouldn't look at picks before you're making your own picks, but them's the bees, the breaks. I don't know, guys. It's really a coin flip. I'm going to go Greg Hardy. First, I was leaning Juan Adams, but I read one person's feedback online saying this is the UFC handpicking people for Greg Hardy to slaughter, and their hope is that he slaughters them all. The UFC can say they don't have favorites, but come on, man. You bring Greg Hardy in with his background, we'll call it his history. You pay him, more than the minimum what you're paying guys with his record, and you're signing him earlier than you're signing other guys. We know why. It's because you want him to be a star. So you're going to feed him people that you feel like he can feed off. It's not a horrible thing for the UFC. They're never going to admit it, but because they shouldn't. They're running a business, and they have other employees as well, or contractors, wink, wink, right? So I'm going to go Greg Hardy until he's fighting someone of note or a top 15 guy. So Greg Hardy, let's call it first round knockout. I'm not sure if Greg Hardy has the gas tank to knock people out in the second round. If you are watching, don't forget to subscribe so that you do not miss any upcoming content. I promise original content, and this is only the beginning. This is my first live prediction show. I did do one pre-recorded before, but I decided the type of show I'm trying to do, I will not do any pre-recorded content ever again. Everything will be live. It will be on my channel to view later. But for what I'm trying to do, the best thing for me to do is live. So to have you guys part of the conversation. I'm a fan. I want to hear from other fans, and I want us to all experience together, have the best fan experience of the UFC that we can, and any combat sports. So subscribe so that you can stay tuned for all my upcoming content. And again, catch me next time, tomorrow, July 20th at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for UFC San Antonio. Yeah, Ben versus Steven. I would definitely watch Ben versus Steven. That'd be good. Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. Remember, he defended Tyron Woodley's takedowns for 2 fights very, very well. And Tyron has some of the best takedowns in the division. So I would definitely like to see Ben Askren versus Wonderboy Thompson. Be a good test for both of them. I'm willing to bet money that someone in that Greg Hardy-Juan Adams fight is getting knocked out. They don't like each other. Juan's been talking shit a while. I'm ready to see it. I'm down. Next fight, guys. Alexei Oleinik versus Walt Harris. This is a good one. Oleinik being a ranked opponent for Walt Harris, which is a very good opportunity for Walt. I really think he's going to come in excited and understanding what this opportunity means for him to get a name like Alexei Oleinik on his record. Alexei Oleinik being a veteran of over 60 fights, which is ridiculous. He's nearing 70 fights. Can you fucking believe it? He does have a loss to his last outing. First round knockout from Ulster Overeem, but hey, who doesn't Ulster Overeem knock out in the first round? He knocked out a lot of people, so there's nothing to be ashamed of. It's not like he's losing to scrubs. His jiu-jitsu is lights out. Walt Harris, not the best record in the UFC, but he is on a nice little win streak. If you guys remember, Walt Harris got finished by Fabricio Verdum in seconds. It wasn't exactly seconds, but Verdum made quick and easy work of Walt Harris. Tapped him out really easily. Walt Harris did not look like he was in the same realm of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu as Verdum. Alexei Oleinik is not Verdum because no one is Verdum in heavyweight history except maybe Frank Mir. No one has shown better Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in the heavyweight division, again, other than maybe Frank Mir, maybe Big Nog. But again, these are all maybes. Than Fabricio Verdum in the heavyweight division. And shit, really, Verdum has some of the better Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu pound for pound. in the UFC. You won't find a lot of people to argue that. So I feel like Alexei Oleinik, even though he's not Verdum, he's comparable enough. I think I'm a Walt Harris fan. I want him to get a big win because I want him to have big fights. But he takes a L via first round submission to Alexei Oleinik tomorrow night in San Antonio. Agreed, man. I have Alexei winning as well. Walt Harris will arrive soon. He is a top 15 guy, but this is a bad matchup for him, man. Bad matchup. But shit, it's the UFC and anything can happen, right? I think you can quote me as saying Ricky Simone was a bad matchup for Faber, and we saw how that went. Guys, I'm sorry. I said quick, and we are still here. I hope you are still with me. I hope you are still enjoying yourselves like I am. I can get long-winded in this shit, and I do not apologize. But we are to the main event of UFC San Antonio, being RDA Rafael dos Anjos versus Leon Edwards. Ooh, this is a good fucking fight. Dos Anjos has been so active, and if you listen to Chael Sonnen on any of his podcasts or coverage, he always says Rafael dos Anjos has the hardest schedule in MMA. Let's take a closer look as to why that is and why Chael Sonnen feels that way. He has a win versus Kevin Lee, which I thought Kevin Lee was going to win. I thought it was a bad matchup because of Kevin Lee's similar style to Kamaru Usman and Kobe Covington. But RDA had a great win, man. He really used veteran savvy to win over Kevin Lee. He said, okay, Kevin Lee, you're going to keep aggressively trying to wrestle me like you saw two bigger guys do. Two guys used to this weight class. Two guys used to the body types of 170. You saw them do that to me. Now let's see if you, moving up from 155 for the first time, have the gas tank to keep filling me on top of you for 5 rounds in a main event. The answer was Kevin Lee did not have that gas tank. That's no knock on him. He mismanaged his energy. You heard it before. Chael Sonnen famously says that's the famous way of saying I got tired. But shit, it's for real. It is accurate. He allowed Rafael dos Anjos to be in resting positions while putting a lot of weight on Kevin Lee while Kevin Lee was exerting. It was like Kevin Lee was giving 2 measurements of energy for every one that RDA was putting out. It was really smart on Rafael dos Anjos. So he has that win over Kevin Lee, but has a loss over the now champion in Kamaru Usman. Has a loss over the, I think, still the interim champion in Kobe Covington. I'm not really sure or clear on that. If he's still the interim, if he was stripped, I don't know. Has a win over Robbie Lawler, who you have seen still look like a fucking animal in there, right? Great win. Has a win over Neil Magny. Has a win over Tariq Safadine. Like, I keep going about how great he's looked in the 170-pound weight class. Or I can go back to how he looked in lightweight, looking like one of the best to ever do it. Wins over Eddie Alvarez, Donald Cerrone. Don't get me fucking started about the resume of Rafael dos Anjos. He is as decorated as you will see in the UFC. Really curious to see how he looks against Edwards. It's been a while since he fought someone with the style of Edwards. Edwards really well-rounded, long frame for the weight class. Is going to really be able to have a diverse striking game against Rafael and good enough wrestling defense to keep from getting pushed up against the cage too much or taken down. Rafael dos Anjos is going to have to work really hard to try to take it down. I think that is where RDA will try to take it. I think he has an advantage on the ground over Leon Edwards. So look for Leon Edwards to try to keep it standing and RDA to try to keep a lot of dirty boxing up against the cage. A lot of exerting energy onto Leon Edwards, kind of opposite of what he did to Kevin Lee just because of the matchup difference. But let's not forget that Leon Edwards is no scrub, and this man is on one of the longest active win streaks in the division. One of the longer active win streaks in the UFC, honestly. And we'll talk more about that at my live coverage tomorrow, 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Do not forget, do not miss out. Subscribe so that you see as soon as I go live. If you see me go live, it will be for a live combat sports event. UFC, Bellator, PFL, bare knuckle boxing. If you're there, I will be too. Let me know that you're interested. If I didn't know about it, shit, we stream anyway. Also, catch me every Tuesday for Dana White's Contender series. How happy are you guys that you've been watching that? Holy shit. Look at this win streak that Leon Edwards is on. You have wins over Nelson, Cerrone, Sabata, Barberena, Victor Luque, who's been looking like an animal. That victory aged really well for him, man. Tumanov, who, if you guys don't know, look him up, animal. His last loss was to the champ, Kamaru Usman, back in 2015. Like, come the fuck on. Leon Edwards is nothing to play around with and has good guys on his resume. I thought Nelson was going to dominate with his grappling, and Edwards kept him off of him the entire fight for as long as it needed to go. Had a really clean decision victory over Nelson that I didn't expect. I'm going to stop doubting Leon Edwards. The question is that enough to beat RDA? I am on the fence. I don't know. But this is not called the Mike Jesse What Don't You Know show. It is the predictions for UFC San Antonio. So I'm going to give you guys my choice. Drum roll, please. My heart is telling me Leon Edwards because I'm a fan. I think he has a lot to prove. I think he wants that Jorge Masvidal fight for those quote-unquote cheap shots that Jorge Masvidal put on him. The coined 3-piece and a soda, as Jorge so eloquently and poetically labeled it. So I see Leon Edwards coming with a chip on his shoulder, not getting the respect that he believes that he deserves. He wants a title shot. He thinks it's ridiculous that Jorge called for a title shot. He thinks Jorge skipped him in line, and he is correct. He did, and I'm not mad at it. But I understand Leon Edwards' take. But RDA, I feel like he only loses to one type of fighter, and that type of fighter is not Leon Edwards. That's no disrespect on Leon Edwards, but I give this fight to RDA via a blistering, back and forth, exciting, nail-biting 5-round decision. RDA decision, 5 rounds. I can't wait. Do you see how stacked this card is? Do I have to go over it again for you? Are you not entertained? I can't fucking wait, guys. Let's see. Those Anyos by submission, 4th or 5th round. I'm not mad at you. I can see that happening. RDA has a relentless pace. He's going to push Leon Edwards to waters that he hasn't been before. I think Leon Edwards is going to answer the bell. I just think that RDA is going to have more in the tank and be able to use, just more skill overall. I think he's the better fighter. Fights you want to see: Josh Emmett versus Yair Rodriguez. Sign me the fuck up. What else can I say? Sign me the fuck up. Both exciting, both finish. Josh Emmett isn't somebody that you think of when you look at, he's got a diverse striking skill set. But he does. He has a bunch of tricks, and I can't wait to see the next one. And Yair Rodriguez, remember that zombie fight? Even if he's losing, you can't count that man out until the bell rings. You get sloppy, 2 seconds left, Korean zombie, you're going to sleep and giving up a fight that you had ready to go into your win column. Yair Rodriguez is tough as they come. So is Josh Emmett. Sign me up. Johnny Walker versus Dominic Reyes. I want to see that as someone who likes seeing high profile, high talent, exciting fights. I don't want to see that as someone who is looking forward to matchups for John Jones. I want to see John Jones versus Johnny Walker in a year or two. I want to see John Jones versus Dominic Reyes in let's call it 10 to 12 months. But I want to see those guys knock off some of the older guys. I want to see a younger light heavyweight division. I don't want to see anybody under the age of 30, 31 fighting anyone else under the age of 30 or 31. The old guys, I'm a fan of the old guys. Anybody who knows me personally knows I'm a fan of the old fighters. But it's time for new blood in that division. It's been so stagnant. It's always, excitement to watch the fights. Don't get me wrong. I love a light heavyweight bout. A light heavyweight bout, you never hear me complain about a matchup saying it's going to be boring. It's probably not. But I want to see new, exciting names in there thrown into the mix and picture what it will look like with them versus John Jones. So Dominic Reyes versus Johnny Walker, as exciting as that would be, I don't want to see it for another 2 years. Peter Yan versus Aljamain Sterling. Yes, and the only caveat to that is make it for the interim title. Joseph Benavidez deserves the next shot at Henry Cejudo. Henry Cejudo can go down to 125, defend his belt, and try to get that win back from Joseph Benavidez. That fight sells itself as much as a light heavyweight, as much as a flyweight fight at 125 can sell itself. So I'm cool with Henry Cejudo going down, fighting Joseph Benavidez. I know he wants the bigger names. The bigger names are at 135 and 145 if he dares. Which, shit, I'm not going to doubt Triple C ever again, right? Who anyone out there would be a fool to. But the bigger names are at 135. He knows that. We know that. And the bigger names, i.e. Uriah Faber, they know that as well. That being said, Joseph Benavidez deserves his title shot. Give it to him. Henry Cejudo, 125 next. Do not hold the 135-pound weight class hostage. It's too exciting. There's too many young up-and-comers. It's the most exciting division next to 155 and 170, and that's saying a lot. So don't put it hostage for the next year. What if Henry fights for Joseph Benavidez? You don't make an interim title at 135, and then Henry gets injured, either in that fight or in training for the next fight. Aljamain Sterling deserves a title shot. Peter Yan deserves a title shot. Put them up against each other, interim title. So then it can be interim champion versus Henry Cejudo to unify a 135-pound belt. And both guys get pay-per-view points. More money, more money. You know I was going to say more pounds, right? Got you. All right, guys. That's all for today. John versus DC at heavyweight. Thank you for sneaking that in, Trash. Appreciate that. Yes, yes, and more. Yes. I want to see John versus DC 100 times. I don't want to see John Jones versus DC next at light heavyweight. I want to see DC fight heavyweight. He's fat. He's happy. He's strong. He's quick, surprisingly. I don't understand how it works, but it does. John Jones, DC, heavyweight for the heavyweight championship of the world. Well, shit, fuck it. If DC loses, still DC, John Jones, heavyweight. I don't give a fuck what it's for, right? You have to do that fight. Dana White, they both said back the money trucks up and they'll make that fight for you. Back up all the Brinks trucks, man. Pay them. Pay those men ASAP. Justin Gaethje versus Cowboy Cerrone. Yes, how could I forget that has been announced? There are not enough words in the English language to express the excitement that I have for Justin Gaethje versus Cowboy Cerrone. Oh, my Lord, that is going to be a banger. I can't wait to digest that one as it comes through. I can't wait to look at that matchup and see exactly how they line up. But we both know Justin Gaethje brings it. Cowboy Cerrone brings it. Both guys will be looking to kill each other. Fuck the build-up. They're both going to be very respectful for each other. If anybody thinks they're talking shit to each other, you are wrong. They both know their game. Expect a build-up kind of like Till and Jorge Masvidal. Both respect each other, but you both know each fighter is coming to kill the other in the octagon. That is going to be violence personified. I can't wait for that shit, guys. Guys, thank you. Subscribe, like, share. Catch me at Mike Jesse MMA on Twitch, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter. Follow me. Subscribe. Join me tomorrow live, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Saturday, again, July 20th, for UFC San Antonio. After the main event of UFC San Antonio, we will switch right over to the main event, whether it is going on or not. We will switch over to Pacquiao Thurman and switch to that coverage. I will see you guys then. Thank you for stopping by. I hope you like the content. Again, subscribe, share, thumbs up, all that. I will see you Saturday. Thank you for the support. I love you guys.